If you've ever wondered how history's worst dictators managed to seize power, there's no darker example than Adolf Hitler and his rise in Germany. Let's break down the 7 key factors that made Hitler's takeover not just possible, but, to many, almost inevitable. First, the economic crisis. Germany in the early 1930s was a country in agony. The Great Depression shattered the economy, unemployment soared, savings vanished. This is where Hitler saw his opening. He promised hope to desperate people, blaming their misery on scapegoats and broken politicians. Second, propaganda genius. Hitler and his team didn't just hand out flyers, they mastered the art of manipulating emotion. Mass rallies, fiery speeches, posters, and most powerfully radio broadcasts. They hammered their message home 24/7, preying on fear and anger until millions bought in. Third, political opportunism. Hitler wasn't rigid, he was a chameleon. He watched politicians bungle crisis after crisis, and each time he shifted tactics. If a coalition was needed, he'd play along. If violence worked, he'd unleash it. He used his enemies' mistakes against them, every step of the way. Fourth, organizational muscle. The Nazis weren't just a political party, they were a movement with muscle. The SA, also known as the Brown Shirts, patrolled the streets, intimidating rivals and showing force. Their organization was ruthless and shockingly efficient. Fifth, public discontent. Germans were furious over the Treaty of Versailles, which had left their country humiliated and broken. Anti-Semitic conspiracies and old resentments simmered. Hitler channeled all this anger, wrapping it into his message and making the Nazi cause feel like the only solution. Sixth, elite misjudgment. Here's where things get tragic. Conservative politicians thought they could use Hitler, manipulating him for their own ends. Instead, they handed him the keys to power, grossly underestimating his ambition. Finally, the fatal flaw, exploiting democracy itself. Hitler used legal elections and democratic processes to gain power, then dismantled democracy from within, step by step, until dissent became impossible. All 7 factors, economic pain, propaganda, political cunning, brute force, simmering anger, elite missteps, and democratic loopholes, work together. The lesson? Democracy is fragile, and history warns us to guard it fiercely. Thanks for watching, stay curious and remember, history's warnings aren't just about the past, they're about our future too.